Hi, in this video I will show you tips and tricks about pyrography and especially how you can improve your pyrography in few little steps. There are many tips available on the market. I have plenty of them. We usually use only very few of them. I have this set only like for the future, but I doubt that I will be using all of them. Also, these tips are not for this particular burner. I will use only few tips. I like this V-shape tip, which is very simple. You can do lines with them. You can do swirly motion for shading. I like this flat U-shape tip. It can make very sharp edge and it can be good for shading. In my recent project, I'm using only this one. I'm so lazy that I will not change the tips for my work. First thing I do when I'm using a new tip, especially these flat ones, I take them and I grind them with sanding paper or grinding paper, and I take them up to 1000 grit. So I start maybe 220 grit, then I go 400 grit, 600 grit, 1000 grit, and lastly I put it on leather strop, like when you are sharpening a knife. Basically, I want to get mirror finish. The smoother the surface of the tip, the better heat transfer on the wood, and the smoother is the trace from the tool. If you have any ridges or sharp edges underneath the new tip, these ridges or edges will be shown on the surface. Do your preparation, make it shiny, and you will get better result. One thing I want to show you, this wire tip is not original for this device. I'm using it from my old pyrography tool and the wire is thicker than original. So what I want to do is mount the top as close as the clips as possible, so I can spare some power of the tool, so it don't need to hit as much material on the wire as it would. As you heard that this device was cooling itself because it's cranked to high temperature. I don't like this. I don't like to be on such big number. Another thing, basically what I do is to bend the tip with smooth pliers to better fit my grip, so I get best control of the tool. From the production, the flat of the tip is straight, so I bend it a little bit. So now I have my hand in better position, so I can get full contact. I can turn it around and do some lining. I can put it on the edge, do some lining in this direction, and all sorts of position I can get with this adjusted tip. So maybe if you are not comfortable with handling the tool, maybe bending the tip will suffice and will do a big difference for you. Depending on the wood you are using for pyrography, sometimes the tip gets carbon residue on it, because when you are wood burning soft wood, especially burning into the wood that contains resin, the resin will clog your tip with carbon residue. You will need brass wool that you can find with soldering accessories. I will not ever use steel wool. Be aware that very fine steel wool can easily catch a fire. I would not use hot tip into the steel wool. You can burn something down. For beginners, I would prefer to go with hard wood, which has like equal hardness of summer grain and winter grain. Hard maple is the best wood you can start with as a beginner because it's very forgiving. It takes the heat slowly. It don't carbonize your burning tip. It has only very small differences in winter grain and summer grain. Next good material for beginners is beechwood. It's also hard, forgiving, but the base color of this wood is like grayish. The design will be less prominent. Many beginners start with basswood, and basswood is very soft. It gets burned very quickly. It's less forgiving for the beginner, but the design is very prominent. I would not go with ash wood because ash wood has very different hardness of summer grain than winter grain. The tool will scatter on your surface because the summer grain is softer than winter grain. This is not forgiving material. I would also not go with oak wood. Oak wood has also some chemicals in there you want to breathe in. When talking about chemicals, you don't want to breathe the fumes from wood burning. Doesn't matter if you are burning basswood or maple, you don't want to breathe it. So use something like fan with carbon filter, or maybe use a respirator. Do according to your options, but I would go with some vent with carbon filter. Yes, I hopefully can show you. It's not very visible, but in the next videos I will be focusing on the hardware I use around wood burning. To improve your wood burning skill is to start lower and go slowly. There is no speed contest in this kind of craft. Take your time, do it as slow as you are capable to maintain the precision. So let's start with lower setting, and here I have ball tip. It's good for lines, texts, lettering, handwritten text. Crank it to lower temperature, and now we will see. Very, very, very faded line. So crank it a little bit higher, about 3 degrees or 3 numbers or whatever this display is showing you. So now I'm at 40. The line is darker. I don't know whether it's in on the video. So crank it 3 more. Three more. As you can see, now the line gets darker and darker. You need to test the tool and the speed of your hand. So take your time. Each time you do something, build it slowly from the lighter shades into the darker, or at least this is my way how I like to do it. Because when you overburn, there is no way back other than grind it back to the original surface. And you want to maintain constant speed around the surface. When you slow down, you will get overburn. When you speed up, you will get faded line. If you are beginner, I guess your main problem is that you are doing overburn on the start of the line and maybe at the end. And everybody will teach you that the precise method of doing pyrography is like sliding motion. You are not going down to the wood, straight down, then hold, then drag. You need to do like airplane that is landing. Usually airplane is not crashing into the ground. Airplane is slowly taking down, touching and taking off. But if you are not skilled on the beginning, you can use another trick that I use very often, is to blow gently on the tip of the tool before I touch the surface. So I can cool it down a little bit, then I don't need to rely on the exact smooth transition, because when I blow on it, like here is in the rest, is resting, it gets back to the original temperature. Now I touch the wood and drag, you see, overburn. So I will let it rest without blowing, with blowing. So this may help some of you to get rid of the overburns on the beginning, at the end. Then you can crank it a little bit more. This will be very high, I guess. Without blowing. With blowing. Now the result is the same. With blowing, without. Don't push hard on the surface. With hardwood, it's not very problematic, but burning into like basswood or some resin woods, the hot tool is basically burying itself into the material, and then you get some ridges and small indentation. You want only lightly slide on the surface. It's easier on your hand, it's easier on your technique to maintaining the same grade of color or maybe the shade. Particularly if you are shading, you don't want to push very hard, you only need the tool to slide. What I call the speed test is basically how fast you are going to do your work. So again, start with lower temperature, go slowly higher until you get your sweet spot. So here I'm going to touch the tool with the surface and then drag. As I'm dragging, the tool gets cooler and the line and the trace will fade away, like in this. So I will touch it and drag it. And as you can see, I go very slowly, but the tip is losing the heat quickly, and it's not the way I want to do it, so I will crank it a little bit more and do the same. Touch it and drag. Now I can go faster, but it's not sufficient for me, so I will crank it a little bit more. And now you can see how darker the spot, but I need the shade to be lighter, but I want to move faster, so now I can go and try. Hey, oh, it's so high for me, so I will go back and try it. This is my way how I like to do. I like to do swirly motion. Some people like to touch and drag, and this is the way that they build their shades. I like to do swirly motion because it's easier for me from drawing with pencil. So this is my way. Sometimes it's not good, sometimes I get darker spots, but I'm trying to improve my technique and get the shade more homogeneous. So it's up to the training and it's up to how you get your rhythm into the work. This is the speed I would like to maintain. Doesn't matter that I have some ridges because the wood is not prepared as I mentioned before. It's not grinded smooth, it had some ridges, so for the explanation I guess it's good. When I go slowly I get darker shade, so with this technique I will build different shades and blend one shade to the other. I would prefer to go 2 or 3 times on one spot because then you can have darker line without any overburning around it. When I crank the tool higher, I don't know whether it's possible with this tool, but sometimes you get like aura around your lines. This is because the tool is so hot that it will carbonize the surface that you don't want to be as such carbonized. As I said before, the advantage of using harder wood is that you don't get so deep with the tool into the material. If this was basswood, I will get deeper indentation into material. For beginner, I would prefer to use hard maple. Color is similar to basswood, but it's harder and it's more forgiving. So in conclusion, try testing your tips. You don't need to change the tip very often. If you are going to do lining, you can go with ballpoint tip or this V-shape. Bend the tool in such way that is good for your grip. Polish the tip of the tool, you get smoother finish. If you are not trained very well in sliding motion and you don't want overburns, blow on the tip, get it cooler before you touch the wood. Also start with lower temperature and gradually go up and try to do speed test which kind of settings is good for you and your rhythm of work. How to make tiny lines in your design, especially when you are drawing your pets like cats or dogs which has whiskers or very soft fur. How to do it. My take on this particular question is that I bought some dentist tools. I don't know whether it's possible for you to buy it, but this is like dentist's drill. This is some diamond ball drills, and they have a lot of sizes. This is 0.012 and it's like 1 millimeter, and this one, I don't know whether it's seen. This is 007. Either you can use some rotary tool, Proxon. This is drill holder for small drills that can be used in RC modeling for hand drilling tiny holes, but you can mount the tip in here and then it also depends on the direction of the grain. So now I'm going perpendicular to the grain. It takes better. When I go in the direction of the grain, it will be like difficult, but you can see it's quite easy. If you have a rotary tool, maybe it will be faster, but then you have to be careful with your technique because the tool will bite deeper. With this scratching you can eventually do detailed fur. This is 600 grit sandpaper. I used scissors to cut it into triangular shape. In this side, in tip side, I will roll it. You can bend it because when you start roll it, it will give and you will get a long conic shape of sanding paper. Hopefully you see it. In here this darker, so I will you can either unify the shading, get rid of darker spots. You can come back with your burning tip, repair again. Don't do this very often because then you will have irregular surface, especially when you are using lower grit sandpaper. It will bite more on the surface. But when you are not sure about the shade, you can help yourself with this method. In conclusion, for whiskers, furs and tiny lines which needs to be white or very light color, you can do it by scratching the surface with some diamond tool. I would prefer these dentist drills because they are very tiny and they are very fine, and with shadings I would prefer to make sandpaper conus. Once again, take your time.